I went to Good Things Festival 2025 at Sydney Showground. The festival was during a national heatwave and Western Sydney was forecasted to reach 40 degrees. So naturally, I immediately got right into the wall of death colliding in front of stage 4, where local band Inertia were kicking things off. My mentality was mutual amongst a lot of the people attending the festival who still wanted to rock out in the mosh pit regardless of the heat. On stage 3, I saw a little bit of Oxford band South Arcade, who last toured Australia only half a year ago as a support act for Bill Murray. Their pop-punk sound with a new metal flair, lead singer Harmony's catchy melodies, their Y2K fashion sense, they deserve to be on the festival's 2 main stages, which were inside of NG Stadium. Stage 2 was where I caught the end of Scene Queen's set, who despite lacking a bassist, her guitarist Daniel supplied enough low end for those heavy breakdowns. During Scene Queen's performance, there was half a second where the audio completely cut out. That minor audio issue exacerbated during Newfound Glory's set, who started without any bass guitar or kick drum audio. Frontman Jordan's in-ear monitors stopped working within the first few songs, and on 2 occasions, their audio completely cut out for longer than 10 seconds. However, the crowd was super forgiving and were eager to help out by singing song lyrics for Jordan, who still sang really well even without his in-ears. Each member had an energetic stage presence, and their classic pop-punk tunes more than made up for any shortcomings that were out of their hands. After that was Swedish hardcore band Refused, who attracted a considerable turnout for their second last performance in Australia. The band performed so well, it was almost like I was watching them record their landmark album, The Shape of Punk to Come. However, I got robbed of never getting to see them perform that album's opening song, because frontman Dennis kept eating up the band's set time by going on political monologues between most of the songs.
We don't have time for that. I talk so much that we have to cut songs out because I talk so much.
This meant that they didn't have enough time to play Worms of the Senses / Faculties of the Skull and had to skip straight to their final and best known song, New Noise. Now, the next 2 time slots were originally scheduled for the All-American Rejects and Knocked Loose, who both pulled out of the festival to attend to their families. Replacing the Rejects were Sydney's own Stand Atlantic, who were able to fill the pop-punk void while simultaneously fusing the genre with dance music. They even played a short cover of Gives You Hell as a tribute to the All-American Rejects. The replacement act for Knocked Loose was supposed to be Alpha Wolf, but due to a medical emergency occurring on the morning of the festival's first date in Melbourne, they also had to pull out. Good Things managed to bring in Melbourne band Thornhill with only a few hours' notice, meaning that they also performed for the festival stops in Sydney and Brisbane. And Thornhill absolutely tore it up. They got everybody moshing. There were multiple times during their set where I audibly expressed my amazement at Ethan's guitar riffs, and they were very confident with their most recent album Bodies, because all but one song that they performed was from that record. Because both Stand Atlantic and Thornhill were announced as replacements so close to the festival, I didn't have enough time to become familiar with their songs. However, both were fantastic substitutes and the crowd seemed to agree. Next was Oakland metal band Machine Head, whose guitarist Reese was unable to join them for Good Things, but the band managed to adapt as a 3-piece and put on a solid performance. From frontman Rob demanding that the crowd achieve the biggest wall of death of the day, to the inflatable hammers that were released during the performance of their song 10 Ton Hammer, with said song's title labeled on said inflatable hammers. They played a set list spanning their over 30-year career, and hearing the guitar solo of Locust live was incredible. Following that was Baltimore pop-punk group All Time Low, who performed at the first Good Things Festival in 2018. Returning with a colourful platformed stage design, the band proved that songs from their new album Everyone's Talking can fit in with the rest of their more established repertoire, which isn't always the case for older bands. Lead singer Alex mentioned that the band grew up watching Blink-182's performance at the Big Day Out in the same stadium that they were performing in. The band's guitarist Jack also went to shake the hands of audience members at the barricades, including me. Next were the Wisconsin alternative rock legends Garbage, who had taken 9 years to return to Australia. I enjoyed Shirley's historical introductions of the band's songs, recounting the origins of tracks like Number One Crush and Special. It was during Garbage's set that it began to rain slightly, which meant that they played their biggest hit, I'm Only Happy When It Rains, while it was raining. The rain cleared up after their set ended and before the second headliner, Weezer, hit the stage. I grew up on Weezer. I used to listen to their songs on my MP3 player as a kid. It was great that I finally got to see them live, and they were definitely my favorite set of the festival. Can you tell? For unknown reasons, Patrick Wilson was a no-show, instead having Josh Freese fulfill drum duties, and he does the job as he does with any band that he performs with. It was funny hearing Brian and Scott replace the pre-verse dialogue in the Sweater song with Australian slang and references to locations in Sydney.
Party, Merrickville? know about my first home you want to go? Can you drop me off at a bottle before we get there? Sure, dude.
And they also played fan favorite B-sides like Jamie and I Just Threw Out the Love of My Dreams, where Victoria from Cobra Starship accompanied the band to sing Rachel Hayden's vocals. And finally, the headliner, Tool. And yes, Maynard, I filmed portions of your 90-minute concert, even though you didn't want me to. They opened with Stinkfist, which was literally life-changing. There was even a mosh pit because it's one of their more mosh pit-friendly songs. Their second song was Rosetta Stoned, which was when I began to realize how loud the speakers were. Obviously, it was to accommodate for everybody in the 20,000-person stadium, so it would have been a lot easier on the ears from the back of the venue. However, if you're too far away from the stage, you won't be able to see the band performing because Tool refused to have a camera crew broadcasting their show on the Jumbotrons, instead using visualizers and music videos. Then the opening chime of their third song, Fear Inoculum, rang through NG Stadium, and it was ear-splitting. It was so unbearably loud that the crowd carers began handing out earbuds to audience members near the barricade. Don't get me wrong, I love it loud, but at this point, my options were to either go deaf or enjoy the rest of Tool's set with slightly muffled sound. So I caved and took a pair of earbuds to wear for the remainder of the show, because I didn't want the excessive volume to hinder my enjoyment of their performance. And Tool were fantastic. Adam Jones has a guitar tone like no other. Danny Carey always manages to blow me away with his drumming. Every time Justin played a chord on his bass that used the bottom string, it sounded like this. And with Danny Carey throwing his last custom-designed drumhead into the crowd like a frisbee, Good Things 2025 in Sydney came to an end. I'd like to thank the crowd carers for supplying the audience with cups of water and misting us with hoses to keep us cool. This year had a legendary lineup, as is guaranteed from Good Things at this point. The whole day was outstanding set after outstanding set. This is my second year attending Good Things Festival in a row, and I'm definitely going for a third.